welcome into Feldco Football Recap Live with the great Olin Kreutz, the great Tom Waddle. I'm David Kaplan. Bears find a way to get a victory in the Twin Cities. 12-10, a late field goal. Time for our Four Seasons heating, air conditioning, plumbing, and electric game breakdown. The Bears found a way by hook or by crook to beat the Vikings. Somehow, some way, they got it done. What was your takeaway?
My first takeaway is I thought to myself, man, why am I having deja vu watching this game, right? And you remember, probably don't remember, it's a long time ago. I think I looked it up. So that's the only way I know. September 24th, 2006. It was 6-3 at halftime. The game went almost the same way. Tommy Harris causes a fumble. Rex Grossman hits Rasheed Davis for 24 yards and a touchdown, and we eke out a victory. Same, I hate to say this. I've been a part of a lot of games that look just like that one. We were watching last night. Big Cat walked in my gym today. Big Cat Williams is like, oh, that was hard to watch. I said, Big Cat, what are you talking about? It's the only kind of games we've been watching around here. Like, when did everybody become football snobs in Chicago? Like, we've seen better games, right? But my takeaway is this, man. That defense was relentless. They were fun to watch. I especially like to point out those 3 plays after the field's second fumble, Tom. No crying. Yeah. They came on the field. They were physical. Andrew Billings got after Bradbury, the Vikings center. They got right off the field. And then Fields, we've been asking on this show, man. We've been asking him to make a play. And whatever the comment about Brian Flores, and they got to do their own shows over there in Minnesota. He makes the play, hits, throw to DJ Moore. We said that all week last week. Throw it to DJ Moore. Hits DJ Moore. They kick a field goal. It's 12-10. And I tell you what, man, I enjoyed the win as much as they did, I'm sure.
By the way, Tommy, before you say something, Olin, the last time the Bears won, I believe, without scoring a touchdown,
this is where it
was October 1993, 6-0 over the Falcons. Tom Waddle, 6 catches for 55 yards to lead the offense.
And Jim Harbaugh was our quarterback.
How about that?
And Wani was our coach at that point. What a satisfying trip down memory lane that is. Crazy. Look, I'm with Olin. First and foremost, it's nice to get a division win for the first time in 13 tries, right? By hook or by crook, I think, as you said, Cap, you don't apologize for winning games. Some of them are pretty, other wins are not. We have asked Justin Fields to lead his team down in crunch time and be the reason why you win a football game, and he did that. It was a beautiful 2-minute drive where he used his legs, not just to advance the football by running it, but to buy some time. I think the first play of the drive, or maybe the second play of the drive, he bought time with his legs and a nice delivery to DJ Moore. And then obviously the deep crossing route that he threw. Look, it was a beautiful game-winning drive. The sad reality is at some point we still have to talk about the 2 fumbles, and that's part of the equation and has been part of the equation, unfortunately, with Justin and with this offense for quite some time. But I'm with Olin. First and foremost, I accentuate the positive. And that defense has been very good in a lot of different areas. I would say recently more than going back in time. I mean, they've created 8 turnovers in the last 2 weeks. I don't excuse how they played in the final minute and 41 seconds of the first half against the Lions, or the final 4.5 minutes that they played against the Lions. But they've done some really nice things at all levels on defense, the defensive line, the linebackers, and the secondary. Things that I think, while they may not propel you to the postseason, obviously, this year, things I think we can all grasp onto and feel good about going forward into the future, and things that I think that they can build on as they go forward.
And looking at the way Justin played last night, the game plan obviously was, we know Brian Flores is going to be in our face all night long, so we're going to get it out quick. Almost all of his passing attempts are very short. What did you think of the game plan as you watched it unfold?
Yeah, not only that, but when they wanted to take shots, and Tom can talk about this better than I can, it looked like they were in cover 3 or cover 4. It looks like Flores was out guessing Getsy a lot of the game. And Brian Flores has been having a really good year. But the game plan was what they thought they needed to do to win with Justin Fields, right? I mean, zone reads, get the ball out. A lot of those screens everybody's talking about, all those quick pitches or pops, where, one of them I think we'll probably go over, but it's like a quarterback run. If you see the numbers outside, pop it outside to DJ Moore, let him make a play. because they're probably coming after you. They're going to overload you. They're going to try to outguess you and drop A in a coverage. I tell you what about the game plan, because like everybody else, I wasn't really happy with it the first time I watched it, right? And how could you be happy with 12 points? How could you be happy with what the offense did? And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to go study a quarterback like Justin Fields, which would be Jalen Hurts. And the Eagles put 34 points on them. But when you watch that game closely, they rushed for 260 yards. So what is the difference between Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields in the game? Their quarterback rating is about the same. The passing yards is about the same. Now, Jalen Hurts doesn't have the 2 fumbles, but he does have an interception. He struggled the same way against Flores' defense that Justin Fields struggled, but his offensive line and Swift are better than the Bears' offensive line right now and their running back. So just an interesting comparison, because, look, I was hard on Getsy too after the game. I thought, man, what is he doing? And I got to be honest with you guys, man. I watched the Eagles. A lot of concepts were the same.
Yeah.
The same, but they executed the run game.
You know, it's interesting. I think that first and foremost, I think you have to look, and I think it's a great comparison. And obviously the Eagles are always going to be more impressive than us because their personnel is better. But I think we all want them to be more aggressive, right? For a lot of reasons. It's more aesthetically pleasing. You get a better evaluation of your personnel, including your quarterback, if you're willing to take chances and push the ball down the field. But I think we also have to acknowledge what this Bears coaching staff is faced with right now. These guys are coaching for their professional lives. We would all agree for that, right?
Agreed 100%.
So if you're Luke Getsy, and I don't think that there's 100%, I don't think there's 100% buy-in. I don't think there's trust. I don't think that Justin really probably, if you asked him off the record, trusts exactly what they're asking him to do at times. And I don't think the coordinator fully trusts Justin to just turn things over to him. So I think that, Luke is calling a game plan that he thinks they can get a W with. It's all he cares about. It's all the coaching staff cares about. They just want to win. They're trying to extend their professional careers here in Chicago. So I may want them to be more aggressive, and I may disagree with some of their approaches, but you have to understand where they're at. Like if they ask Justin to be more aggressive and Justin throws picks and we're like, well, that for us is still a positive for us, because then we can judge Justin on, a different scale. Or
they're trying to stay employed.
They're trying to stay employed. That's the point I'm trying to make. So they're coming at it from a different perspective. Look, I like a more diversified attack, even when it comes to handling the pressure. What they decided to do was they used wide receiver screens as hot routes, right? Like when back in the day, what we would do is if like you counted it up and they brought too many guys, you'd run slants or you'd run quick outs. I think you heard Eberflus say today is, look, that we don't like what they do is they'll show you those looks and then all of a sudden you'll read it hot and then they'll drop a few guys out and then there's a lot of clutter in the middle of the field. They didn't want to do that. What they wanted to do was use the sideline as their friend. So they said, if we see looks we don't like, we're going to immediately throw the wide receiver screen, find our guys in one-on-one coverage with one of the other guys who is going to be a blocker, and then we're just going to trust our guys to make plays. Now, I would have rather seen them mix it up. Like if you're going to run 12 or 14 wide receiver screens, why don't we pump one of them and then throw one deep? Or why don't we bunch some guys up? And because they had some success with bunching guys up and running guys off of each other with some rub routes. So, I mean, look, I can be critical of the game plan as well. I think you have to separate how we feel and what we want to see versus what the coaching staff's, goal is.
Okay, let me ask you guys this question. If we could go back to the previous question, the questioner wants to know from you guys. Kyle said, didn't seem like there were any quick slants against such a blitz-happy defense. Why?
Well, I would say this, Olin, real quick to build on that. The answer I thought, as I interpreted what Coach Eberflus said, was that what ends up happening with a lot of what Brian Flores does, it gets cloudy in the middle of the field. Like they will blitz, but then they'll drop someone. So their anticipation is there were going to be moments, if you read it hot, you run slants, there were going to be guys in the throwing lanes. So why not just flare it out to the side and use the sideline as your friend? That's how I interpreted what they were saying.
OG, the Duke says, does Luke Getsy know that any slants are legal in this league? Seems like His defenses know what they want to do. Getsy has more screens on display than a Best Buy on Super Bowl weekend.
Listen, we know where Getsy came from. Aaron Rodgers threw the hell out of slants, right?
Yeah.
It's interesting. The reason why, guys, I went back to the Eagles film is because my first thought, Tom, I'm interested what you thought. My first thought when I watched the game was, against a team like that in this day and age, why no dummy cadence, right? Why no dummy cadence? Why not make them show what they're doing? Why not check the different plays at the line of scrimmage? And then I thought, Justin Fields, he's not Aaron Rodgers. So who is the guy he's most compared to if he's to be successful is Jalen Hurts. And I'll be honest, I watched the TV copy, and the Eagles aren't doing much of that either. Now, the Eagles are better concept-wise with this college scheme than Luke Getsy is. I just think the Bears built their offensive staff wrong, right? If you look at the Eagles' offensive staff, they have college coaches from the college ranks on their staff. The offensive coordinator was in the college ranks for a long time. So the Bears don't have anybody there like that. So when you watch them run this offense, you're wondering where the rules are coming from. Where are these rules coming from? Who has run this kind of system before where it's a zone read, where it's pop it out? It's like basketball rules right there, out there, right, Tom? If it's 3-on-3, throw it out there.
Yes.
Right? If they're trying to play, if they're trying to split the difference, throw it out to DJ Moore. Now, by the end of the game, the Vikings had caught on already. And it may just be, man, when you watch Flores and they have one guy, and he didn't match up very well against Keenan Allen and the Chargers. And that's why the Chargers put big yards on the Vikings. But Brian Murphy matches up very well against DJ Moore. DJ Moore's a good wide receiver. But when Brian Murphy's one-on-one with him, he does a hell of a job on DJ Moore. And we all have guys like that we go against in the league, man. Some guys you see just are good. And if a team can have one guy take away DJ Moore, I will argue the Bears will always be in trouble, no matter who they play. And I'm just trying to be fair when I look at that. It's okay, how has Brian Flores, what has they done against top quarterbacks? And to be honest, against pocket quarterbacks, they've struggled. Mahomes, Herbert, they've struggled against guys like that who can check in and out of plays and get the ball to the one-on-one matchups, right? The guys like Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields have struggled against this defense. Now, Jalen Hurts, 260 yards. He's got Kelsey at center, making a lot of calls, organized a lot of stuff. We watched that. Why no slants? Why no take shots? The running backs were getting killed off the edge, man. They weren't blocking us so. And there were a lot of mental mistakes in that first half, but guys are running free again at Justin Fields. So Justin Fields got to play better. He can't fumble those two balls. But when you talk about, okay, are they going to move on after one game? I think if you're the Bears, you have to take a look at the whole picture and say, okay, man, even Jalen Hurts struggled against this Brian Flores run unit.
Listen,
Tommy, to Olin's point, you and I talked about it. I went back and watched the whole thing this afternoon, and boy, there's a lot of blocking on the edge where EQ Brown whiffs on a block. Yeah. Yes. Mooney and Tunyon whiff on a block on a 3rd and 2. I mean, here's a couple pictures I got for you guys. I mean, look, you got to make these blocks. It's 3rd and 2. They throw the ball to DJ Moore. 2 guys go to 1, 2 others flow to the play, and both of them miss the block.
Yeah, look, I think that when you're a team that sits at 4-8, there's no singular problem that has made you a losing football team. It is shared culpability. It's, we can question some of the play calls, and I think with good reason, but also it's player execution. There was another wide receiver screen that they threw to the top of the field, and they threw it to Darnell Mooney, and EQ St. Brown was in charge, and that's why he's on the field, because he's such a great blocker. He was in charge of getting Mooney free, and he completely whiffed on the block. I mean, we could sit and argue that, hey, that's too many wide receiver screens, but at the end of the day, they're using this wide receiver screen, as an extension of their running game, and you could question whether or not that's a sound decision or not as well. And it's also their answer to handling all of these different blitzing situations that they found themselves in. They thought the best thing to do is get the ball wide, then see guys make plays. Now, again, you could call that into question all you want, but at the end of the day, I mean, when you factor in some of the execution problems as well, it's why the offense struggled. And look, defense gave them 4 gifts, 4 takeaways, and our offense and look, not to circle back, too quickly to Justin. I thought Justin did some really good things in this game. I really did. Was he perfect? No. When you get 4 takeaways and your offense scores 0 touchdowns, and then you fumble twice in the 4th quarter, nobody's going to give you a passing grade. Or if they do, it's going to be because they're grading you on a very friendly curve. like when you say, did Justin take a step forward in terms of solidifying his spot with this roster going forward at the end of the day? As much as I want to say, guys, I saw some really positive things. How can I sit here and tell you guys honestly that 2 fourth quarter fumbles and 0 touchdowns in a 60-minute game is a passing grade? It's hard for me to kind of get to that conclusion.
All right,
and Cap, real fast. I just want to say, like, I really think we're watching where, like, Luke Getsy is not running his system anymore. Right, we're watching that right now. I think when you watch Green Bay, when you watch Aaron Rodgers play, when you watch that system run, it's a it's a check with me system, run, pass, run, pass. If it's a blitz, we'll go to this pass. If it's a good look, we'll go to this run. They've totally taken that out, and now it's zone read or pop it out fast, right? And it was that the whole game. So I just think when the offense coordinator is calling plays, maybe he doesn't want to call, and you're trying to run things, all of a sudden you got this. Like, you could argue in some of those looks, Justin should have ran it or he should have handed it off. Instead, he threw it out. So some of those screens, everybody's saying are screens, they really weren't screens, right? They're a run pass. Either you pop it out or you run the ball. And he chose to pop it out there. And there were sometimes, like, they ran backed up. They had a quarterback toss crack on or pop it out to his left, and he popped out. I thought he should have ran the toss crack. So I'm sure Getsy, they're talking about that today when they get together.
Olin, I would just jump in and ask you how you feel about it. I've said all year long, and everyone wants to choose sides, and everyone wants to say it's all the offensive coordinator, it's all the quarterback. I just have never felt this has been a really clean mesh. I don't think that their styles or what they want to do fit. And I don't think that it's one guy is really good and the other guy is hampering him. I think that collectively they both hurt each other in some ways. Would you agree with that?
I would agree that I don't agree with the plan, the way they put together their offensive staff. And remember now, as we watch the running back struggle in pass protection, we watch Khalil Herbert. I think he's either injured or missing some holes. They lost their running back coach, right? So they're down. Yeah. They're down a coach in that building. So, but I agree with you. Like we talked about, I think a couple of weeks ago, how you look at the Ravens staff and that, I think he's the quarterback coach or the running back coach is Willie Taggart, the Florida State, former Florida State head coach, right? You got college guys on staff for the concepts of the college plays. The Bears don't have anybody, right? They have Janoko, they have Morgan, and they have Getsy, who are all, Morgan is from the Shanahan system, right? The outside zone, dual plays. Dual by means like gap downhill play. They ran some of that last week. And Janoko comes from the Vikings, same kind of system, and Getsy, same kind of system. So now you got this quarterback, and you're running all these concepts. And like you're saying, Tom, it just doesn't mesh very well. And you can see, like we talk about a lot of times on film, when you don't have the details to a play, it's hard to run them.
All right, let's do our Justin Fields winging it. Give you his numbers, brought to you by my friends at Westtown Bakery, OK Dispensary, in Wheeling, corner of Lake Cook and Milwaukee. Justin, 27 of 37 for 217. He ran for 59 more, did not throw a pick, did fumble it twice, and did not throw a touchdown or run for a touchdown. He was okay, like a C+. He wasn't awful. He wasn't great. By the way, 20% off if you walk into Westtown Bakery and say, REKAP, 20% off. And look what they sent for my wife today. She's training for her hike at Kilimanjaro. Look at that brownie.
Wow.
Oh, how good does that look? Yep. They sent that for her, not for me. So I got to stay in shape. Anyway,
you struggle with the hike upstairs after the show, don't you?
That I am upstairs. I hike right into my bedroom. That's exactly where I'm headed. It's not a basketball game worth watching. The Bulls are only down almost 30. I mean, boy, they suck. Anyway, let's get back into Justin. So we got 5 games left now. Then you got the bye week. Then it'll be 4. Then it'll be 3. At what point, like, I'm laughing looking at social media today, guys, and people are like, did you see Ryan Poles fist bump Justin after the game? That means he's coming back. Did you see Kevin Warren was smiling in the locker room? Of course they were smiling. They haven't won a goddamn football game in the division since 2021. Like, when do they start to, or have they made a decision on what they want to do at that position? OG.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the body of work we've seen, right? There's no way if you don't have the first pick, you're not taking a quarterback. From what we've seen. And look, I forced myself today, as you guys know, to go and look at these Eagles and how they're built and how they play the game. But it's so hard to duplicate. You know, their two best offensive linemen are 10-plus year guys, right? So, like, you got to wait 10-plus years for Darnell Wright to develop into Lane Johnson, right? Kelsey has won Super Bowls. I don't even know. I think he's on year 11 or 12. I mean, you have veteran guys setting the standard every day, leading the locker room for you, doing a great job, right? And they got receivers and running backs and on and on and on. Their defensive line is fantastic. And so how do you duplicate that? That would be the motto if you're gonna say, okay, what would be the reason to keep Justin Fields? It's okay, we're gonna build around him, right? As everybody says, build around him, and he will play better. And I guess you do have a motto there for the Eagles, but for right now, from what I've seen in those two fumbles at the end of the game, there's no way. I just told you guys about how Rex Grossman threw that touchdown pass to Rasheed Davis and we went to the Super Bowl with him. There was no time that people said, well, we're just going to keep him because of the way he was playing, right? So if you look at Justin Fields as a whole, there's no way if Ryan Poles has a number one pick and Kevin Warren, they don't have a serious look at the quarterbacks in that class.
Tommy? Oh, I think Tommy froze on us. Yeah, we'll get back to Tommy. The running game, I was impressed with Roschon Johnson's blocking when I went back and watched it again. He missed one, but there was another one where he took two guys.
Cap, people got to watch the film. Tevin Jenkins hit the linebacker on the way through, and he blocked the two guys. I mean, I know I've seen this all posted on social media. And, yes, Roschon stepped up and got in the way. Tevin comes back and rails the linebacker, and they both go down. But if people want to give Roschon Johnson that pancake, that's up to them. But he did struggle on the edge a couple times. He was stepping up. There's a lot to learn, man. That defense is hard. I mean, they match up their guys. They know what they're doing. They line up almost, so it looks like a 6-1 old school 43 defense. You don't know who's coming. The Bears' rules on some of their pass protection almost look like we used to call it radar, where you set to an area, and whoever comes in that area, you got them. So that's why you see guys flashing all of a sudden, right, Kaplan? Oh, that's my guy. And then you see guys coming free off the edge. I think Bullard came on block a couple times. Roschon Johnson, it's a tough job against that team, right? And number 44 for the Vikings defense, I'm losing his name now, Josh Metellus. I mean, he's tough off the edge, right? And they got that young linebacker, Ivan Pace Jr., another guy who's tough off the edge. I think that's the one you're talking about. They ran like a lacrosse dog up the middle.
Yeah.
Tevin Jenkins flashes back. I'll send you the film. It was Tevin who hit them and knocked them down. But I seen guys on social media giving Roschon the credit. I'm sure Roschon
that's what I was reading. I saw that.
Yeah, but he ran the ball good. He's playing better. That offense, I don't know if anybody had a great game, Cap. When you watch that game that they played, they just seemed up against it all night.
All right, so take me back when you were playing center. If you're going up against Brian Flores' defense, and how do you recognize you're trying to snap the ball, fire off the ball, make sure everybody's communicating, and all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, they got this guy here, this guy here. How do you keep that organized?
Well, and I posted a blitz today on Twitter. People should check it out. I mean, I still can't figure out who was coming on that play, right? So the quarterback has to understand the ball has to come out sometimes. They're just going to outnumber you, right? When Flores has a theory, he's just going to outnumber you, Cap, or he's going to drop 8 guys in the coverage and cover you. But the hard thing is it all looks the same, and you don't know who's coming. They have a nickelback. I just mentioned his name, right? They have the nickelback Metellus. They got Harrison Smith. Those guys almost act as linebackers. So who do you make a down guy, right? And when they put Wunham on the field, he's a linebacker. But if you count him as a linebacker, then you match Wunham up with your running back or your tight end, which is hard. So you got to make who you got down, which way the line is sliding, and choose who's coming. I tell you what, Harrison Smith checks the blitzes off your calls, right? So if you go, everybody in football knows this. If I say an L word, then they know we're going left. So they call the blitz to the opposite side, right? If I point a certain linebacker, the other linebacker comes. So that's why they let Harrison Smith control who is coming, and he's almost an extension of Flores on the field. And that makes it extremely tough, especially if you're just going to go and run the play that you have called in the huddle, right? Because you have the play called in the huddle, They just outnumber you, and they know if they have 6 blockers and we show Justin a 7-man front, guess what he's going to do? He's going to pop it out to the wide receiver. So they knew that as the game went on. Kind of surprised now, Cap. You've seen this before where they fake that wide receiver screen and send somebody deep. Kind of surprised we didn't see that. I think that might have helped them out. If they would have faked one real fast, Mooney would have acted like he was blocking and then take off. Everyone's running that nowadays. I'm sure Getsy had it in the game plan. Why didn't we didn't see it? I don't know. But as a center in that time against those kind of teams, I've been there before. I told you, right? I've told you with a young quarterback, with a young offensive lineman, Cap. Sometimes you're up against it. The noise is loud. Brian Flores is out coaching Luke Getsy. I remember in the 2001 playoffs, John Shoup went against the great Jim Johnson. Remember Jim Johnson for the Eagles?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Jim Johnson, Ron Rivera, Leslie Frazier, that defensive staff. I remember being on the field thinking, man, it's like they know what we're doing. And then when I went back and studied as an analyst, yes, I know why I'll look up their staff for you, Cap. Sean McDermott was a quality control guy on defense. They had stars in there. And you can tell when you're going against a team like that. And we talked about, right, going into the game, they got Brian Flores and they got, I think Pettit is their assistant head coach, right? So they got guys in that building going against Getsy and Janoko. It's a tough matchup.
I know everyone if Eberflus isn't here, everyone wants got to get an offensive coach. Mm-hmm. What do you think about Brian Flores as a guy who could fix culture in the building?
Yeah, I don't know much about Brian Flores, right? I think he's a younger guy. I think in Miami it didn't work out. I know the problem with the owner there, where they asked him to win or lose, or I don't know all that stuff. So I love what I see on film, right? I mean, you got to like the culture his defense brings, but gosh, our defense is pretty good right now, right? Yep. I mean, playing good football, 8 takeaways in the last 2 games. Alex Briggs and Lance Brown taught me that if you say turnover, you're just saying the offense gave it to them. So it's actually takeaways.
Yeah, I got the same lecture.
Yeah, they'll scold you all day long about that stuff. So I've learned, they taught me that, but I don't know much about you. You'd have to get these guys in a room, right, Cap? And can they lead a building? Can they hire the right guys on offense? Look what happened to the Buffalo Bills, right? They lost Brian DeBall, and I know he's losing in New York. But when he was with Allen was playing lights out. So when you lose your staff, you lose good people. You lose Leslie Frazier there at Buffalo. All of a sudden, you start losing some games. You're not the same team. So I know why people argue why you hope you can get the offensive coach.
We got our guy Tommy back. We were just talking about a guy like Brian Flores and the way it seems like his guys really play for him. Guys are playing hard for Matt Eberflus too. Would you be adverse to a defensive guy coming in as the head coach if the Bears made a change?
Well, especially if it's a BC guy like Brian Flores.
Wow.
By the way, oldest computer in the world, because I was just, you guys were coming in clear as day, and all of a sudden I was just gone. Or maybe
take some of that millions of dollars in your bank account, buy a new laptop.
Right. Okay.
Hey, Cap, you know who the DB coach was for the Eagles in 2001? Steve Spagnuolo.
Okay, so they had Spagnuolo, Sean McDermott, Johnson, quality
Rivera,
control,
Leslie Frazier, Spagnuolo, and Sean McDermott. And I was on the field in 2000 playoffs thinking, man, these guys seem to know everything we're doing. That's all I'm saying about Flores and Pettit and what's going on. Sometimes when you're watching games and it seems like the defense is a step ahead of the offense.
Yeah, it absolutely does. All right, we're going to take a quick timeout, and then we'll come back, and we will continue. We've got the bye week coming up, but there's a lot to get into. If you have a question for Olin, we're trying to reestablish with Tommy, you could tweet at me at the Capman or post them right here on YouTube. Be right back.
Hey, Dad, we're running low.
We'll be all right.
What is going on here?
Insulation? I'm chilly. I can't help you with the decoration, but I can help you replace these windows fast.
Right now, buy one window and you'll get one free. Plus, no interest until 2025. And we'll get it done Feldco fast.
Buy one window, get one free, and soon. Hurry. Call now.
Call 866 for Feldco.
Feldco Bears Recap Live is brought to you by Feldco, Chicago's home renewal experts. Call 866-4-FELDCO. 4 Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. For all the right reasons, 4 seasons. Vienna Beef. Go to viennabeef.com and use code CAP23. That's KAP23 at checkout for 15% off your order today. And Dr. Pepper. Grab an ice cold, refreshing Dr. Pepper today at a McDonald's near you. Westtown Bakery in Wheeling at the corner of Lake Cook Road and Milwaukee. Enjoy the best brunch Saturday and Sunday mornings. All right, I want to ask you about DJ Moore because there's Tommy. DJ Moore for me, and he is our Dr. Pepper player of the game. Dude was targeted 13 times, had 11 catches for $114. I just thought he was outstanding. And this time when they had to make a big throw in a big spot to win the game, they were listening last week. They didn't go to Tyler Scott. They went to DJ Moore. Justin delivered the ball on time. Bam. Bears are in the red zone, kick the chip shot field goal, and win. And that is also our Dr. Pepper play of the game, that Justin to DJ Moore 30-plus yard completion. I thought DJ Moore was the best player on the field last night. Do you guys agree?
I think offensively, yes. I told you guys from the first mini camp practice I watched, I thought he was their best player regardless of position. I think he's a good route runner. I think there's no wasted motion in his routes. I thought it was really interesting, too, that he said at the end of the game when it was over, he was surprised as hell as the coverage that he was running the route into, and then found himself wide open. I think, Olin, you referenced this at the top of the show that, by hook or by crook, they found a way to win. I don't know why Brian Flores decided to go away from being as aggressive as he was for the first 58.5 minutes and then became more passive with what he was trying to do. But I think DJ was very surprised and very happy to see the coverage that they were running. Just a heck of a player. He's a multiplier, as Olin likes to say. He's a guy that makes other guys around him a whole lot better. When he's got the ball in his hands, he runs the ball like a running back. He is really hard to bring down. That's why his yards after the catch is so high.
Yeah, he's a great player, man, and everything Tom said. And when you hear him talk, he doesn't complain, right? Nope. He doesn't moan. He gets frustrated on the field sometimes, but we all do, right? We all yell and scream on a football field sometimes, but always a team guy. I mean, he is a really, really good get for Ryan Poles and this Chicago Bears offense, man. Just a fun football player to watch. Seems like a good teammate. Seems like a good guy. That's a win for the Chicago Bears. Now, I don't know if he was better than Montez Sweat and or Jaylon Johnson in that game, but very, very good football player. Fun to watch and has been, right, Cap? Has been fun to watch. And as Tom just said, even with the matchup, as I said, like Brian Murphy matched up well with him, still 100 yards, right? Still 100 yards and still does a great job.
I had to take a shot when Montez Sweat got got the one sack where he drove the guy into the turf, then got a half a sack. I thought he played a really good game watching him on tape today, so I had to send a tweet. Hey, Mike Lombardi, take that, because, wow, that trade, a second-round pick to get that guy, that was really, really cool.
I don't know how you guys feel, but I think I've heard you say it a little bit in the past, Cap. We were talking about this on the show today, and it's not reflected in their record. But if you look at their roster and you watch how some of these guys are playing now,
markedly better than when Pace left.
Dexter with the, I don't know what is a roughing the passer these days and what isn't. I think if there's any question at all, they just throw a flag. His snap count is up. I think he's making a bigger impact now than he was earlier in the year. You look at their secondary. I like both of their rookie quarters. Smith was back out there because Stevenson was hurt. Thought, he showed signs of being a good young player. I think Gordon in the slot is going to be a really good player. TJ Edwards is as productive and as solid as you're going to find in his spot. I think you saw Tremaine Edmonds. His athletic ability was on display on that fast turf. I think you flip it around on offense. There's a couple of linemen. I think the roster has got some talent on it. They haven't found the secret sauce to put it all together. But I don't think that this crew is needy on the talent front as they were 12 months ago.
That's well said. Yeah, that's well said, because nowadays what we do a lot of is put the rosters next to each other, and you used to think, how the hell are they going to win this game, right? How are they going to match up with these guys? Now you put the roster up, and a lot of people were taking the Bears. I didn't, but a lot of people took the Bears over the Vikings going into that game, because when you looked at the roster, when you look at the defense, you're like, man, they match up really well against this Vikings offense, right? And then on offense, you do have DJ Moore, you do have Justin Fields, you do have Darnell Wright, you do have Cole Kmet, you do have Tevin Jenkins playing at a high level. You just have now these guys where you turn on a film and you're like, man, that guy's a ball player. That guy is actually competing out there. Montez Sweat, played him in like that wide four, like Warren Sapp used to play, and he caused all kind of havoc out there on the football field. So to Tom's point, man, and to your point, Cap, this team had the talent is better now. Of course, it's better than last year. They wiped the team out, so they get the first pick of the draft, right? So I don't want to give people credit for making the team terrible, trading Khalil Mack, trading Roquan Smith, and then acting like, look how much better we made the team. But this team is better. You can see, Cap, me and you talked about earlier today that Ryan Pose's background is on the pro personnel side, right? And you can see that when he brings in DJ Moore and Montez Sweat, that he understands the pro personnel side, and he's hit on two of those guys so far.
Yep, and
TJ
now
Edwards. TJ Edwards, another one. TJ and Tremaine Edmonds. I don't know how healthy he is, but certainly a talented player. The other thing is, if you look at that defense, I believe it was you all calling for Gervon Dexter to be at the 3 technique. Mm-hmm. I'd love to see him start. I think he's earned
looks
the right
more
to start.
comfortable.
Yeah, and I think he does struggle with the run game still yet. Struggles with double teams. His pads get a little high. But I will say this, for the young man, he's learned how to rush the passer. So for me, that immediately tells me if I put him on the field, I think you put him next to Andrew Billings, and Andrew Billings gets on him a little bit about get your damn pads down, take on that double team. We're here to stop the run, right? That kind of leadership, right? Like put him on the field, have Justin Jones as your rotational guy, because I think Gervon Dexter has shown too much talent lately. We talked about Montez Sweat and a number of plays he plays. I think you got to get Gervon Dexter on the field more. He was actually a handful, absolutely, for Ed Ingram. Ed Ingram, the Vikings right guard, struggled with him all night, just his size and his length. And we talked about on this show, man, I wonder if Ryan Post saw Chris Jones in him when he studied him on film. And I'm starting to see a little bit. You see him at DN, right? You see him beat Penei Sewell with a quick hand swipe. You see him inside beating guards now. I want to put him out there against a run game and just learn under fire. Why? There's 5 games left. Why do I want to keep looking at Justin Jones? I don't.
It's a good point. It really is. When you look at where this team is and you look at the holes that they have, what they may be able to address, leave quarterback to the side a second. If I told you there's a great rush edge there, there's a great 3 technique there, there's a left tackle on the O-line there, and there's Marvin Harrison Jr., what do you do?
Me?
Both of you.
I defer to you.
Tom's taking Marvin. I'm taking a left tackle.
No, honestly, I'm not. And I thought that Marvin was the best college football player I saw all last year. I haven't seen as much of Ohio State this year as last year. I don't think the young man's gotten worse. So fabulous player. And I think if I have the first overall pick, listen, I would say this, Marvin Harrison Jr. would be fabulous. But if I can find the second coming of Devontae Adams in the 2nd or 3rd round, I'm going to be just as fine. If, in fact, I can take one of those high picks and get a 3 technique or a tackle that can be slotted in and play for the next 10 years. I'm not trying to minimize the importance of a wide receiver. But if I can get a game wrecker in the middle of that defense, or I can get a guy that I can leave alone for 17 weeks by himself to protect the blind side of my quarterback, or one of those tackle spots, the game in the trenches to me is more important than the game on the flank at this point. So that's where I would look.
Hey, Cap, let me ask you this, Cap. I mean, Stroud is over there playing in Houston. You get the number 1 pick 2 years in a row. I don't know, man. I don't know how you don't. Your quarterback hasn't played lights out. He hasn't done it. Now I know the Eagles are, they are the example, right? Of okay, we're just going to surround this guy with tons of talent. But Ryan Poles has to take a good look at it and say, okay, how long is it take us to get to where the Eagles are? How many veterans do they have in that building that have won Super Bowls already?
I think you guys kicked out Cap. I think you guys kicked out my plug when I was coming to address that issue. I was going to say with what Olin was talking about with regard to the Eagles, it's just my own personal opinion. And it's not a shot at Justin. I just feel Jalen Hurts has a better feel for the position, the quarterback position, than Justin. Just, like to start. Mm-hmm. I'm not suggesting he's got better skill set or he, can do this. I just think the quarterback position is one of feel as much as it is athleticism and decision and all of that stuff. It's feel. And I just feel that, not a play on words, that even with all of that talent around him, I think he's got a better natural feel for the position than Justin. So I think it's a tough apples to apples comparison. Again, I think that Justin does a lot of nice things. And I think that Justin's a better football player this year in this season than he was last year and the year before. With that said, I can't get the boom goes the dynamite mistakes out of my brain. Like, if you want to make a comparison, and maybe, again, it's not an apples to apples comparison, but risk reward. Josh Allen leads the league in touchdown passes. He also leads the league in interceptions. Josh Allen has thrown 24 touchdown passes and 13 interceptions, but Josh has also got 9 rushing touchdowns. So when you factor in the rushing touchdowns and the throwing touchdowns, his 2-to-1 ratio works with me. Okay. So he's still finding a way to be a multiplier. If you look at Justin's totals this year, he's got 13 total touchdowns, 12 passing and 1 rushing. He's turned it over 10 times, 6 interceptions and 4 lost fumbles. The downside isn't overrun by the upside. You know what I'm saying? So it was like how Favre played the game. You knew Favre was going to throw an interception or two, but he was going to make these game-changing positive plays in some aspect as well. So there are moments when Justin will wow us, but the overall, the upside or the reward doesn't match what the risk taking to me, if I evaluate the position, is. So when you have a career where you have 47 total touchdowns, rushing and throwing, and 38 total turnovers, that ratio doesn't work for me, especially for a player who's in his 3rd season. And I'm not trying to be overly critical. I'm just telling you, if I'm going to have a guy that has boom goes the dynamite moments, I better have a shit ton of other plays that make me forget about those moments over the course of the game, over the course of the season. And that's how I have to look at this situation.
All right, let me just tell you, Vienna Beef is partnering with us this year. Great taste flavor since 1893. They celebrated their 130th anniversary. Look for one of their favorite kits, the Chicago-style hot dog kit. If you've got a tailgate, you've got a awesome party, you're going to watch the Bears, you're going to watch the Super Bowl, you're going to watch the playoffs, go to viennabeef.com, punch in this code, CAP23 at checkout. You get 15% off your order today. Here is the draft order. Since we don't have an eye on the opponent because we have the bye week, the draft order right now, the Bears own the Panthers pick at number 1. Arizona right now holds pick number 2. That'll be a massive game when they play Christmas Eve here in Chicago against the Bears. Pick number 3 is held by New England. They got to get a quarterback, so you would think they're going to stay right there. I don't know what Arizona will do. Pick number 4 at this very moment, even though they won last night, belongs to the Chicago Bears. Very strong chance Marvin Harrison could be there at number 4. And pick number 5 in the first round, we'll only give you the first 5. That is the Washington Commanders, who I would assume are going to have a brand new head coach. And some believe that could be Bill Belichick jetting in there or to the Los Angeles Chargers. So that's all brought to you by Vienna Beef. I got to ask you guys. So Ryan Poles is on the pregame show yesterday on ESPN 1000 with Jeff Joniak. And he asked him about Montez Sweat and other guys being on the field in game-changing moments. Yeah, I addressed that with Coach Eberflus. That's what he said. How stupid do you have to be as a freaking head coach that you got a $98 million guy there and the game's on the freaking line against the Lions and he and Terrell Edmonds are standing on the freaking sidelines? That's the stupidest shit I've ever seen, Olin.
It didn't make sense to anybody. And everybody watching the game was like, where is Montez Sweat at this moment while the Lions are driving down the field to score a touchdown, right? We were all wondering the same thing, and I'm sure Ryan Poles was too. So, credit to him for asking Coach Eberflus, what was the plan there, and why wasn't the guy I gave all that money to on the field in the situation that I gave him all the money for.
Yeah, it's like, what are we going to do? Oh, Olin, we're rotating you out right now so you can catch your breath. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
No, not at that moment, right? And I'm sure Montez Sweat doesn't want to be on. I think Tremaine Edmonds was out also, right? So he was on the sideline. I know he's coming back from injury. It just didn't make sense, Cap. And I'm glad that Ryan Poles went there and asked them for answers, right? Go ahead and ask him. Why isn't the guy you asked me for to get you an edge rusher? I got you an edge rusher. Now it's time to use the edge rusher, and we got him on the sideline because after the game, what did they say? That's the way they rotate, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And look, some credit has to go to Travis Smith here, right? The defensive line coach. We talked about how much better that defensive line is playing. Rod Marinelli's protege from the Raiders. He took a lot of heat, Cap. A lot of heat for a year and a half, right? His D-line was the worst D-line in the league at rushing the passer. They got him this guy, Montez Sweat. Put him on the field to end the game. He's the closer, right? When in baseball games, right? When the guy comes out, when the music hits, the closer is coming. That's why you pay the guy all that money. The Montez Sweat's music was playing, and he was still in backstage. We don't need that. When his music is playing, get him on the field.
Let's go. Open the bullpen door and let's get him on the field.
Yes.
Andre says, I'm a better fan as a sports analyst because of you guys on this screen. It's amazing how much I learn, our fans learn, just listening to you. And Tommy, you're going to get extra pay tonight because Tommy's got shitty internet.
Hey, a time and a half, right? I feel like I've been talking for 2 days, but look, the Bears won, Cap. Man, it's good to talk about a Bears win. It was good to watch that Bears defense. They were ferocious last night. Jalen Johnson was all over the field. I know people want to talk about that drop pick 6, but listen, he had a takeaway. He caused the other takeaway, right? I mean, he played a hell of a game. He came downhill. He was killing their wide receiver screens. They were trying to throw that defense. I keep talking about, I got pumped up, Cap, watching it this morning. Those 3 plays after the fumble. Go if anybody has time, go out and watch that defense play. Those 3 plays, watch the defensive line. At that moment, you would think, Cap, they're pissed, right?
Right.
Man, I mean, how much we got to do? That they weren't at all. They got on that field. They went out there to get Fields the ball back. Justin Fields should buy everybody a TV on that defensive unit.
No question about it. Nice flat screen. Okay, so I argued this with Tommy Waddle on the phone earlier today. So 3:23 to go in the game. Justin puts the ball on the deck right there. Second fumble. You've got the ball at the Bears 43 with a 1-point lead. Now, it's easy for me with a brownie and a cookie sitting in front of me to go, why were you so passive, Coach O'Connell? And he would look at me and go, hey, jackass, my guy's already thrown 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah. But boy, oh boy, they run for a yard. They run for no yards. They throw behind the line like the Bears are doing for -1 yard, and they shank a punt.
Yeah, I'm going to find a way to get Hawkinson one-on-one, right? I'm not going to run it the number 1 run defense in the NFL.
Right.
I'm not. And look, I mean, Billings has been an absolute monster. Justin Jones playing the run well. Walker, Montez Sweat, Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards. We talked about how this defense on paper now, they match up, right? What are you going to do against that defense? Where are you going to attack? And Terrell Smith was playing, right? The rookie 5th rounder was playing last night. And Tyreek Stevenson was out. They were still missing a guy. They still played that level. We talked about Kyler Gordon, Brisker, Eddie. I mean, they're playing just really, really good football. But to your point, Cap, I'm going to find a way to get Hawkinson one-on-one or Addison and give my guy a chance to make the play. But I'm sure Coach O'Connell would say, Olin, man, I mean, did you see the way Dobbs was throwing the ball all night? And I said, yeah, that also is true, right? And then they shanked the punt. You don't expect your punter to shank the punt indoors, right? You don't expect that from your punter at home.
Right. So all of a sudden now the Bears get it at the 22 instead of being pinned deep. Make a couple plays, and then Justin hits the big pass. Ball game over. I also questioned, and again, they won. I'm happy they won. I would not have challenged the catch that Eberflus challenged because you could tell on TV his hand was underneath the ball. I need that timeout in my satchel, right?
Well, you're watching. You're like, man, they're trying to find ways to lose again, right? We're going to challenge a play you shouldn't challenge. You're going to lose a timeout. We got 2 fumbles, and you're like, no way are they going to find a way to lose this game, right? It was halfway through the game, Cap, and I texted a couple people. It was 9-3. And I said, Justin Fields is going to have the ball in his hands. It's going to be 10-9. What's going to happen, right? What's going to happen when Justin Fields has the ball in his hands is 10-9. Not a lot of belief in our text chain that the Bears would move the ball down the field and score against the Brian Flores unit. But they did. And we've been asking for that for weeks, Tom, and he did it.
I got to pay my AOL bill. I mean,
yeah, who uses AOL for Christ's sake?
I got to tell you, honestly, Olin, maybe you'll appreciate this. Like, I still pay for it too. Like, I know it's free, but I still, like, I don't want the interruption that I just, had to experience right there. Like, it's $10 a month, and I just keep my same, email address, and I'm not in the 21st century, Cap. I don't know.
Tommy, Olin's not going to remember this. Olin told me, like, I'm going to guess, like 3 years ago. He said one day, correct me if I'm wrong, OG, you looked through your statements, you went, what is that subscription to? What is that charge to? What is that to? Because with 6 kids, you got
6
a lot
kids,
of
man. The Apple charges are all over the place.
That's out. Yeah.
You're trying to keep up with it. I don't know what the hell is going on half the time. Roblox, I tell you what, Roblox costs a lot of money.
I didn't even know what that is, but I got Hulu, I got Paramount Plus, I got Peacock, I got 2 Netflix subscriptions. For what reason, I have no effing idea. Like I got stuff I don't know what I have, but like I'm a creature of habit. I'm this old curmudgeon, so I won't go away from the AOL. I have the same cell phone number, which I won't give out. I've had the same cell phone number since I first had a cell phone.
Who got you that number?
I think you did.
I did.
Yeah, with Corky Peterson.
That's correct. I went and picked up a phone. I said, hey, give me a number for Waddle. And I got him a creative number, and he still has it.
Yeah, I still have the same number. I still
have the same. In Illinois, go see Cap, man. He'll get it for you.
So it's like, it's frustrating as hell, but I'm just stubborn and I won't change it. So I apologize.
All right.
Respect that.
Yeah, you've got to respect that. Olin and I were discussing, the lack of aggressiveness from Kevin O'Connell on the last drive, not the 10 seconds left, the other drive. They get the ball 43-yard line, 1 yard, 0 yards, -1, shank punt, they lose. I would have said to him, Coach, you're hanging on by a thread to get to the playoffs. I know your guy's been picked 4 times. We got to take a shot to TJ Hockenson.
Yeah, I mean, Hockenson and he have had a pretty good rhythm all year long, too, or since Dobbs has taken over. I like Hockenson a lot, too. I think he's one of these
beast
that you could spread out and plays the tight end position with a kind of a wide receiver's mentality, but has a tight end body. I'm always going to err on the side of aggression. I'm not, I always look at what happens with the Chargers and I say, well, that's not always aggression. To me, that's recklessness at times when he would make decisions. Staley would make some of the 4th down decisions he used to make. So I wouldn't be calling for recklessness, but I'm always someone that would err on the side of aggression versus not. And I think that it's so odd because there was some inconsistency. If you remember, I think it was the first drive of the second half for the Vikings. I don't know if you guys were talking about that, where they went for it on, what was it, 4th and 5 or 6?
4th and 5, I think.
Yeah, and they were, may have been in their own territory, and everyone was screaming punt it in the building, and he decided to go for it. So really not so sure why they had a change of heart in crunch time. I know Dobbs had struggled quite a bit, but that drive that he led them on after Justin's first fumble was really impressive. It really was an impressive drive. And I'll argue that touchdown throw that he made to Hockenson was the best throw of the night, including the ball that Fields threw to DJ on the final drive. I mean, that was a good step up in the pocket read, put it in a spot where Hockenson could make a play in front of Eddie Jackson. So I don't have a good explanation for you, Cap. These guys are humans. You think that they're machines at times and that they'll follow this process throughout the course of a 60-minute game. But, sometimes emotion gets in the way.
Olin, what do we have behind us? I don't see your daughter's helmet this week.
She wrote a note because I called her 7 last week. She wants you to know she's 8 and in 2nd grade. And her dad's math is terrible. She said to make sure she put that up.
I love that. Where's the helmet? Is it still around?
I'm sure. As you can tell, I don't arrange any of this.
There it is.
That's all arranged by other things. but no. To Tom's point, man, I thought that like Flores, like even he wasn't, Cap, even he wasn't aggressive, right? I was wondering what he was doing, but look, I think Matt Burke, the former Viking center, does radio up there in Minnesota, and I hope he's complaining about it because I have to do that week in and week out for the Chicago Bears and their game plan.
All right, before I let you guys go, so the bye week is here. You guys have any plans for the bye week?
I don't.
Boston College, they're done. Washington's playing for the Pac-12 championship.
Say who? Say dog? Say bad mother? I won't swear on the stage. But they are 12-0, Cap. They are playing Oregon. I don't do the whole announcing to everybody what we're doing in my house.
Do you think they can beat Oregon?
They beat them in Washington. Oregon's a good football team. I can't tell you I've studied both teams a whole hell of a lot, right? My boys played at Illinois. I was watching most of the Big Ten this year, but they did beat them. Penix is a very good quarterback. Both of those quarterbacks, I think people call them uncle on campus, how old they are. But that's that whole 6 year now. These guys there. I think Bo Nix was at Auburn and played for Gus Malzahn, and Penix was at Indiana, and now they're over there. And good for them, good for them. But Washington, good football team. The coach down there is doing a hell of a job, and it's hard. It's hard to go 12-0, Cap, and they did it. And then a lot of the games are close, and people don't think they're that good because of the close game against Washington State. But they did win the game, and they won 12 in a row. And winning's a habit.
Winning is a habit.
Guys, I would say this real quick, Cap. Penix and Bo Nix have been great this year. I think that is such an advantage at the collegiate level when you can have a 23 or 24-year-old quarterback playing against an 18 or 19-year-old. I'm not criticizing either school for having an older quarterback. Look, Joe Burrow was 24 years old, I think, in his final season with LSU, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 23. But it's a rule that has allowed some of these guys to stay in college and play the game that they love prior to going to the National Football League. So I just think for both of these teams, it's been a huge advantage to have a veteran type of presence at their quarterback position.
So I talked to Glenn Kozlowski yesterday, and we were talking about this topic, and he knows both you guys, so to tell you hello. Koz said, dude, when I was at BYU, we would have guys 24 years old because they took a 2-year Mormon mission. Their body heals up. They feel good, and they're going up against an 18, 19-year-old freshman. They had no chance. The old guys were going to win every time.
Yeah, we played BYU, and I lined up against a nose guard, and I graduated high school in 1995, and the nose guard told me, "What's up, brother?" And that's what we say in Hawaii. We call each other brother. And I said, "Are you from Hawaii?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "What year did you graduate?" He said, 89. I said, "What?" Wait, hold on. I think his name was Harlan IU, and I was like, "Wait, 89? Now that's 6 years." But Cap, to be honest with you, watching this with the NIL now, look, it's not amateur anymore, right? These kids are making money. Give everybody the 6 year. Why not? The product, I think, is improved. You give guys longer time to develop, get their degree done. Some of these kids it's good for.
And I think once they take that next step into the NFL, they're more mature and they're more ready, I think, for that transition as well. So I think you make a great case for it.
Guys, have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll talk next Tuesday. Get ready for Bears, Lions in Chicago. I appreciate you greatly. Have a great week.
See you, fellas.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, Dad, we're running low.
We'll be all right.
What is going on here?
Insulation? I'm chilly.
I can't help you with the decoration, but I can help you replace these windows fast.
Right now, buy one window and you'll get one free. Plus, no interest until 2025. And we'll get it done Feldco fast.
Buy one window, get one free, and soon. Hurry. Call now.
Call 866 for Feldco.
Feldco Bears Recap Live is brought to you by Feldco, Chicago's home renewal experts. Call 866-4FELDCO. 4 Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. For all the right reasons, 4 Seasons. Vienna Beef. Go to viennabeef.com and use code CAP23. That's KAP23 at checkout for 15% off your order today. And Dr. Pepper. Grab an ice-cold, refreshing Dr. Pepper today at a McDonald's near you. Westtown Bakery in Wheeling at the corner of Lake Cook Road and Milwaukee. Enjoy the best brunch Saturday and Sunday mornings.